because I had to take out certain language. So if it sounded a little choppy, I did the best I could.
Yeah, she is very foul-mouthed, but funny.
Funny.
Funny as it gets.
Foul-mouthed to be foul-mouthed is not funny. But if you throw in a lot of wit and clever delivery with some foul-mouth,
good to go.
That's a great recipe.
Yeah, I
for
like
humor.
Lisa Lampanelli. She is funny. Some of those roasts, you and I have watched a few here at the station occasionally. That's just good stuff.
To me, Greg Giraldo, though, no one tops him. He's the man.
Yeah.
Or was the man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's great stuff. Always good stuff. All right, well, let's kind of finish up here with the campaign stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit, and this maybe Brian Calley's going to be mad about this because Cruz isn't just screaming and dishing dirt on Donald. He's also trying some stuff on Kasich, obviously. He's not happy, thinking that he would get all of Kasich's votes, which I don't think is true. But in Montana, the Cruz campaign is trying to kick Kasich off the ballot. Does that not sound dirty to you? I mean... Yes, because you guys got to appreciate the look on Brandon's face when I say that.
Gary, don't go to Montana for Jell-O. That's a private joke.
Emails obtained by the Associated Press show that the Cruz campaign has challenged the validity of signatures the Kasich campaign submitted to get on the ballot. Rules require a petition with 500 signatures, and Kasich submitted 622 according to the report. But the Cruz campaign has argued that the data they submitted is full of discrepancy, and Kasich should therefore be disqualified from competing in the state. Hey, come on. Really? I mean, that's a cheesy sleazebag way to do. That's what Barack did to his competition in Illinois. I mean, this is what bothers me about Cruz. Don't get me wrong. I'm still would pull the trigger for him if he's the guy.
Lion Ted?
Yeah, Lion Ted, whatever. For me, it's a Trump or Cruz thing. It really is. I'll take either or. I prefer Trump, but I get a lot of Cruz people like, nah, I'm never going to vote for Trump. And I'm saying, you're an idiot. If you're going to do one, you can do the other. I mean, just swallow your pride and stop being such a crybaby. It's one or the other, and I'll do it. For me, that makes sense, right? Am I not having common sense when I say that?
Total common sense. And for me, unfortunately, as you know, I become disillusioned with all the candidates and the whole thing.
Yeah.
So to me, it's the least bad, and that for me, the verdict is still out.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of smacks of the Iowa and the other stuff, which I just don't like. And I'm not saying Donald Trump is a saint. He's got a whole bunch of issues as well, and I can understand why people don't trust him, don't want to think that he's qualified or whatever your excuse is. But I'm looking – what bothers me most is I had Cruz on a pedestal. I think you know this. I supported him fully, gave his campaign, state campaign people plenty of time on the show.
Wendy Day.
And I expect – better. I don't expect this because the stuff that I'm seeing here is what we've seen from the establishment for decades. And so why is he falling back to that? Run an honest campaign like we all thought you were. Stop trying these little cheese bag things, I expect better from Ted.
Well, Ted, to me, and I know this is grossly unfair, totally subjective, but from the get-go, and I've said this all along, I just don't like him. And to me, the first impression was he was kind of a combination of Mr. Rogers and Pee Wee Herman. That was the effect he had on me.
Pee Wee's big election.
So, yes. Yeah. So I've looked at him with a critical eye all along. And he said some good things, too. He said a few good things where he kind of fired me up. I'm like, okay, but overall, I look at him with a jaundiced eye.
Yeah. Part of this is the fault of the media and the RNC for doing this kind of garbage. Because, if you didn't do 13 debates now or whatever the heck number we've done, we wouldn't have had all this garbage flying around. They don't do this to the Democrats. And to their credit, Bernie and Hillary have really been soft on each other.
Oh,
I mean, it's the love fest on the Democrats.
Giving each other back rubs. Yeah.
Yes, they might as well. I mean, crying out loud. They throw the pork chop to the dogs on the Republican debates and just make them fry each other. And we wonder why it's gotten as ugly as it has.
You know what's interesting between the two of us, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, that in the very beginning when the candidates started coming out of the woodwork and Trump said his things, the wall, etc., I got fired up. There's a guy that's going to, slash through the PC garbage. He's talking some big, vague concepts right now that sound fantastic. My eyes are open. My ears are ready to hear more. And then as time went on, I started becoming less enthusiastic.
Yeah, well, I think I have a...
And then Cruz, for me in the beginning, was, as you know, not a whole lot of enthusiasm at all. In the last couple of weeks or so, generally speaking, Cruz has risen a little bit for me, and Trump has come down for me. So for you, it's just the opposite, where you were sky high on Cruz in the beginning,
Yep.
and he's come down significantly. And for you, I'm assuming still Trump is still way up there.
Yeah. And
So-
I guess the part when people say he's not fleshing it out and that sort of thing, I think part of that is this. I think Donald is a manager. He's not going to have all the answers himself, so that's not what you need. You need a manager. And I think Donald Trump has a lot of people lined up for certain areas that will give him the answers he needs.
Well, again, it goes back to the hope thing. We hope
We
this.
hope.
We hope that. And
Yeah.
it's wearing a little thin with me.
Yeah, well, but here's the reason why. Until we get a little further through this process, all these probably very educated, very experienced people that he wants to bring on board, they're not quite ready to commit. Because nobody wants to back a loser, because then they're not going to be able to get in with the other guy who could be the winner. You know what I mean? So I think we need to get through probably Wisconsin, New York, Connecticut, all these other states that still have to come to high delegate counts. And I think once Donald has the big chunk of delegates, you're going to see a lot of people come on board that will be the alleged cabinet members.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think because I'm like, bring them on. Tell us who you're going to have. But I don't think those people are ready
You
to
want
jump
reassurance
on board yet.
because he kind of is doing putting his foot in his mouth a lot and not knowing.
Yeah.
It's almost like, though, I'm going to fire a shot over Donald's bow right now. And when he sits down with somebody or the debates, it's almost like he's saying, hey, listen, I'm running for president. I don't know anything. You know, what more do you need to know? I don't know anything. And if you want my position on abortion, I'm sure I can meet your needs. If you're pro-abortion, go look at me 20 years ago. If you're anti-abortion, a couple weeks ago I said the right thing. So what do you want? That's who I am.
Come along, Sherman. Let's get into the Wayback Machine.
Exactly. So, and maybe next week it'll change again.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything, but it's going to be huge, big. It's going to be grand.
Yeah.
Frankly, it'll be big.
Yeah. Jenny texted in. She's like you. She's not real happy with any candidate. I'll be honest with you. I'm not super happy with any candidate either.
Yeah.
I'm still rolling the dice here. I think we're all rolling the dice.
And my whole thing is I so crave, like many people, to want to be fired up and all in on my candidate, whoever that might be, and not be the sarcastic, critical guy that I so often am. And now it's like I've caved back into just, okay, I'm not happy with any of them, so I'm just going to laugh and do the sarcasm thing.
Yeah. Well,
it's like, because none of them fire me up now.
But that makes for good radio.
I guess. I don't know. I guess the verdict's out on that, too.
All right, so let's put
But I wish I was, like, legitimately, sincerely fired up and saying, this guy, he's going to make America great again. He's going to, whether it's Trump or Cruz or
like Ross Perot.
or Ross Perot or whomever. I wanted to be all in. I wanted to believe again. And I don't feel it. I want to feel it so bad, and I just don't.
Well, that's the way the college kids feel about Bernie. They're all in for Bernie.
I know. I want to be like
free
them.
Education, and I want to get all that free stuff. Well,
but I envy them because they have the feeling they're all in.
they haven't.
They're idiots.
They don't have 30
They're
years
morons.
of jading behind them. That's what it comes down to.
That's
We're
a
just
big
jaded.
part
We've
of
been
it.
screwed by the system and paying taxes for so many years.
Yeah.
We're completely jaded.
Yeah.
And that's why, it is. Young kids are always liberals. Why? Because they haven't paid taxes for 30 and 40 years and seen, geez Louise, I've spent 30% of my income on somebody else for 30 or 40 years now. No wonder people get more conservative as they get older. They're tired of paying money and getting nothing for it.
Yeah, and these kids these days, like we said, they're so indoctrinated with the whether you want to blame it on public schools or just society and media in general, and they're so dumbed down and it's really getting
It
bad.
is. It's pathetic. Well, let's talk a little bit about dumbing down because let's take a look at our.
And their parents are dumbed down too. That's what's really scary. There's nothing to fall back on for these kids. They got nothing.
Nope, absolutely not. Well, let's take a look at the Obama economy, dude. So we had a pretty decent jobs report, right? 215,000 jobs reported. Woo.
Those $8 an hour jobs, man, they're looking good.
Well, and here you go. So CNS News, and again, I put this up at thedailydrift.com. If you're not going there, make sure you do go to thedailydrift.com. Out of those 215,000 jobs that were created, most of them were retail, food service,
The usual suspects.
drinking places. We lost another 29,000 manufacturing jobs. And this is why I say, you know what? Ted Cruz is on the fence at best with TPP. Enough with the free trade. Listen to me. Free trade always hurts the country that has the higher standard of living and the higher wages. It's common sense. I don't have to teach you this. You should have learned this in economics. Free trade is not going to help us. So you have to approach it very carefully. And that's where Donald Trump, I think, is right on the money when he says, stop with the TPP thing. You know, the TPA, which was the first step in this TPP process, even our own congressman here was like, yeah, that TPA is just going to give us a chance to say thumbs down. Really? Have you guys ever given thumbs down to something like this?
The thing, though, again, it depends on how you define free trade. If you've signed up to a stupid trade agreement that puts you at a disadvantage because of the agreement itself, that's bad. But as far as, you know, I don't think you can make the blanket statement that free trade is bad, in that if you don't have free trade and you bring back a lot of this stuff to America, okay, on the one hand, that sounds good, but as a consumer,
it's bad.
You might be paying 20-30% more for a lower quality product, possibly. So possibly lower quality and a higher price. If you're a worker in that particular industry that is creating the jobs back here because of those tariffs, or however you want to bring those jobs back, you're ecstatic. And a lot of times those manufacturing jobs are union jobs, so you as a taxpayer and or consumer are willing to subsidize a certain segment of our economy of union jobs and manufacturing. If you're okay with that, which is like a big tax increase, then that's okay, but be aware of it. So to say it's simple Econ 101, it is, but be aware of all the ramifications and unintended consequences.
Yeah. Well, what are the unintended
we
consequences?
We need to be able to compete.
Yeah. One
That's
of the unintended
the
consequences of a free trade, though, is we're losing our manufacturing base. It's not just the jobs. If we can't build our own weapons and we get attacked, what do you do?
Well, that now
when
you're talking national security, now I say I don't want free trade on that deal.
Exactly.
No,
so you have to maintain a manufacturing base so that in times of war you can produce the ships, the tanks, the planes, the guns, the things you need to protect your country. But it also is plowshares. If you can't produce your own tractors to produce the food to feed your people, you're also screwing yourself. So you have to be really careful. I don't like blanket anything. Take every issue one baby step at a time is the way they should do this. This giant TPP thing is crazy because you know what? It's thousands and thousands of pages that I can guarantee you these losers in Washington have not read to this date.
Yep. That's horrific.
And that includes every politician that's out there. I don't care if he's a Republican or a Democrat. You don't know what's in the bill. You haven't read it fully, and you don't understand it. So just say no. Let's just take one baby item at a time and say, you know what? Let's talk about tractors for farming. Do we want to cut a deal with China for free trade or not on tractors? You know, maybe. You know, if I'm a farmer here in America, I probably don't want a quality Chinese tractor or lack of quality of a Chinese tractor. But what happens if there is a war? All of a sudden, we don't have any more tractors, and we gave away our ability to build them.
Well, you know what you do then? You refer it to the Ministry of Wheat, and then they will set quotas and allocate tractors for you. It always worked in the Soviet Union during Brezhnev's era.
All right. Well, I wanted to take a break, but the phone lines are lighting up again. Let me take we don't know who's on line one there. Derek, can we go into a break?
I say just take the call and say, hey, welcome to the show.
Yes, I would do that, but you never know.
You never.
All right. We'll see you on the other side.
The Mule Skinner Boot Shop in beautiful downtown Chelsea has moved. Yes, moved, but just across the street and 1 block north to 112 North Main Street. Still in beautiful downtown Chelsea, but with more of everything. More boots, more hats, more belts, and more Western jewelry.